Before the incredible success of 2012's The Avengers, adaptations of the same titled comic had never really seen the same level of exposure or success as other Marvel properties like the X-Men or Spider-Man, which had both been extremely successful in the 90s. In the past, characters from the Avengers roster had had their own segments in the 1966 Marvel superhero series, but never assembled as a team. Various incarnations of the Avengers had made appearances in the Fantastic Four and Iron Man segments of the Marvel Action Hour, as well as very brief Easter egg style cameos in the X-Men and Spiderman series of the same era. But it wasn't until 1999 that the first series to feature an incarnation of the team as the main protagonists was produced. Titled Avengers United They Stand, the series took elements from the comics but made significant changes to the setting and did not include Thor, Iron Man or Captain America in its main lineup. With a clear focus on toy sale tie-ins, which had proven very successful with the X-Men and Spiderman shows, the series was cancelled after 13 episodes, partially due to Marvel's financial troubles at the time, but mainly because it was terrible. In 2010, The Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes aired for the first time on Disney XD. Produced by Marvel Animation in cooperation with Film Roman, it was produced by Alan Fine, Eric S. Rollman, Dan Buckley, Simon Phillips, Dana C. Booton, and developed for television by Joshua Fine, Christopher Yost, Ciro Nieli, and Frank Parr.
That is a long list.
All had contributed heavily to Marvel's animation output from the early 90s throughout to 2010, and had all at some point in that time worked alongside producer Kevin Feige, who would later go on to become the head of Marvel Studios, overseeing what would quickly be known as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The series opens with the mysterious simultaneous escape of 75 of the world's most dangerous supervillains from several maximum security prisons. In the face of this catastrophe, 5 of Earth's mightiest heroes, Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man, and the Wasp, assemble to stop the immediate threat of some of the more powerful escapees, with several still unaccounted for, and an obvious strength showing in combining the talents of the group, form a crime-fighting alliance called the Avengers. Iron Man, also being industrialist billionaire Tony Stark, finances and acts as de facto team leader, offering the rest of the team accommodation at his New York City-based family home, which he redubs Avengers Mansion. But it quickly becomes apparent that the mysterious forces behind the breakout have other plans yet to be revealed. Main theme and intro. Written and produced by Guy Ayres and David Arellon, both notable songwriters and music producers. The song Fighters 1 was performed by the band Bad City. The intro does a good job of introducing the characters and conveying the tone of the show.
It's just so awesome!
Story and characters. The series initially features a team based on the roster by the original 1963 Avengers comic book published by creators Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, which is later joined by Captain America, Black Panther, and Hawkeye. Series head writer Christopher Yost found success with Marvel after he and writer Craig Kyle co-created the character X-23 for the animated series X-Men Evolution, a character that would prove to be so popular that the two would also bring her into the main comics continuity, much how it was with Harley Quinn with her first appearance in Batman the Animated Series. X-23 would later make her big screen debut in the critically acclaimed Logan. Yost has also written episodes for animated shows including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Batman, and Star Wars Rebels, and wrote several episodes of Wolverine and the X-Men, as well as being a series producer and writer on Iron Man Armored Adventures. In 2006, Yost was the head writer on Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes, where he first began working with writer Joshua Fine, who wrote 2 notable episodes of the show's run. Fine would then go on to executive produce on Spectacular Spider-Man, and along with Yost produce and write on Wolverine and the X-Men. After the cancellation of those shows, the two moved on to develop Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, along with Frank Parr and Ciro Nieli. Taking a lot of ideas and stories from the original Stan Lee Jack Kirby stories, the series also incorporated more modern elements from the comics series, in particular Brian Michael Bendis' New Avengers run. At the time of the show's inception, Iron Man had been released to tremendous box office success, and elements from the film were quickly adapted into the show. The writers trusted that the audiences knew the origins for him, and the Hulk, who had also had a film out that year, introducing them as fully established in that world. The rest of the Avengers had not yet been adapted for the big screen, and so were more faithful to their comic origins. A micro-series consisting of 5.5-minute micro-episodes premiered online before the series launch. Joshua Fine said that the goal was to let us explore the individual members of the team in their own ongoing adventures, do a lot of character development, and set the stage for the rest of the season. As well as the main characters, the mini-episodes also introduce us to many Marvel mainstays: Doctor Doom and Latveria, Black Panther and Wakanda, the terrorist organizations Hydra and AIM, and of course S.H.I.E.L.D., complete with helicarrier, classic look blue and white uniforms, jetpacks, and even mandroid soldiers.
Mandroids.
The cast is huge, featuring supporting characters from most of the main leads, as well as their villains, which included Loki, the Enchantress, as well as the full mythology of Asgard. Lesser known characters like Klaw and Baron Zemo also featured, as well as the Kree, Kang the Conqueror, and almost all of the Hulk's rogue gallery. Before work began on Avengers EMH, Fine had been developing a Hulk-centered series titled Gamma Corps. Several of those elements were adapted and brought into Avengers, which would explain the presence of so many character designs for the Hulk's supporting cast and their prominent inclusion in the series. The relationships between the main cast is a real strength of the show. Though very male-centric, Wasp stands out as a strong part of the team, who in comparison to the others is relatively grounded. The Hulk, who has a far higher level of intelligence in this depiction, shares a consciousness with Bruce Banner, giving the character more depth than in previous depictions. As a result, the Hulk's relationship with the team is one of the high points of the show. Iron Man, acting as team leader, gets a lot of focus and is often at odds with the others, largely due to his arrogance. He in particular clashes regularly with Ant-Man on differing ideological beliefs. Several Ant-Man comic storylines are incorporated into the series, including the early introduction of Ultron as a background character. The sheer scope of the show leads it to maintain a somewhat serious and dramatic tone, which is at odds with its character design. However, the banter between the various characters conveys a genuine sense of camaraderie, which brings a good balance of humour, which gives the storytelling a strong momentum and energy. Design and style. The series' lead character designer was Ciro Nieli, whose career includes being the background designer on the cult favourite Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Nieli also directed several episodes of Teen Titans and the very underrated Transformers Animated, but his most notable work is as showrunner and character designer on 2012's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In terms of overall tone and style, the show's design is very stylistic and is clearly influenced by artist Jack Kirby. For those of you who may not know, Jack Kirby was the co-creator of the majority of Marvel's most iconic characters. It's a common misconception that Stan Lee solely was responsible for the Marvel Universe, and while there is no denying that he was a major driving force of what made Marvel great, none of it would have happened without Jack Kirby's incredible creativity and boundless imagination. The animation was done by Film Roman, who has had an impressive amount of output into the industry, including The Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat, The Mask, Mighty Max, and the cancelled Spawn the Animation. They have also produced several series for Marvel, including the Superhero Squad show, X-Men Evolution, and Ultimate Spider-Man. One thing this show does not lack in any way is action. Because of the full embracing of the Marvel Universe, including some of its zanier ideas, the Avengers pretty much fight everyone in increasingly mad locations. The powers of all the characters featured are well utilised, and fight scenes are always inventive and shot dynamically, with a lot of thought put into each character's movement. Supervising director of the series, Frank Power, has a long-running career in multiple roles in animation, and as a director on notable shows including Gargoyles, Men in Black, the series, Batman the Animated Series, Spawn, G.I. Joe, RoboCop, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, The Real Ghostbusters, and Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Another director on the show of particular note was director Boyd Kirkland, whose career included working as a producer on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, as well as X-Men Evolution. He worked in the art department and as a sequence director on Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and as a director on episodes of Batman the Animated Series, Wolverine and the X-Men, and as a writer, producer and director for the animated feature Batman and Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero. He worked as a director for the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes second season, but sadly passed away during its production. The loss of Boyd Kirkland had a massive impact not just on the show, but on the industry itself. The episode Michael Korvac was dedicated to his life. The ending credits included the dedication, "In loving memory of Boyd Kirkland, friend, father, director, Avenger." Soundtrack. The original score was composed by Guy Michael Moore and the previously mentioned David Harry Leon. Michael Moore composed the music for all of the Marvel and Lionsgate co-produced feature-length animated movies, which included the Ultimate Avenger films, Four Tales of Asgard, and Planet Hulk, as well as the series Iron Man Armored Adventures and Hulk and the Agents of Smash. David Harry Leon also worked with Michael Moore as the music supervisor on all of the Lionsgate Marvel animated features, and on 52 episodes of Dragon Ball Z. As a composer, Michael Moore scored 1994's Spider-Man and co-wrote the soundtrack for the Superhero Squad show. Also working on the show is the team of Michael McCuistion, Lolita Ritmanis, and Christopher Carter, who are the founders of Dynamic Music Partners. The three have been composing music for film and television for nearly 20 years, including the soundtracks to Batman Beyond, Batman the Animated Series, Superman, Justice League Unlimited, Young Justice, and the excellent Spectacular Spider-Man. Of special note is their work on Batman the Brave and the Bold, in particular the episode Mayhem of the Music Meister, a musical episode which featured all original songs written by the trio, as well as the singing talents of Neil Patrick Harris as the main villain. The music itself features some memorable signature themes for the characters, and does a nice job of conveying the feeling of the Marvel Universe. With such a large collection of larger-than-life characters, the casting was pivotal in getting the personalities right.
Get comfortable, this list is long.
Eric Loomis plays Tony Stark. His voice shares a lot of similarities with Robert Downey Jr., which is probably why he also played the character in other media formats. He does a nice job conveying Tony's strengths, as well as his many flaws. Brian Bloom brings his distinct vocals to Captain America, imbuing him with nobility and authority, whilst maintaining a balance between cheesy and inspiring. Rick D. Wasserman brings terrific personality to Thor. Theatrical at all times, he brings an immense likability to the Thunderer. The Wasp, voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, makes the Wasp more than just the girl of the group, adding a lot of grounded perspective to the team's dynamic, as well as an endearing enthusiasm and confidence to the character, who simply put loves being an Avenger. James C. Mathis III is to Black Panther what Kevin Conroy is to playing Batman, infusing the character with coolness long before the rest of the world knew just how cool Black Panther is. Chris Cox, who has done a lot of work in small part roles, is a major standout, regularly stealing the show as Hawkeye. Wally Wingert plays Ant-Man, as well as Ultron, but these are almost completely overshadowed by his fantastic performance as MODOK. Fred Tatasciore is clearly enjoying himself as the Hulk. He also does a great job bringing the distinct personality of the Thing to the small screen. Industry legend Stephen Bloom, who fans of Cartoon Network will recognise as the voice of Tom, the host of Toonami, is to Wolverine what James C. Mathis III is to Black Panther, voicing Wolverine in several episodes. Alex Desert is just awesome as Nick Fury, dominating any scene that he is in. Veteran voice actor Nolan North lends his voice to a large amount of the supporting cast. As to be expected, the voice actor supreme himself, Kevin Michael Richardson, features along with industry legends John DiMaggio, D. Bradley Baker, Phil Lamar, Troy Baker, and Mark Hamill. Robin Atkin Downes, who fans of cult sci-fi series Babylon 5 will recognise as Byron Gordon, voices Baron Zemo. And Buckaroo Banzai himself, Lance Henriksen, has a great time playing the Grim Reaper. I wanted to put a bit of focus on Jennifer Hale, who voices Miss Marvel in the show. Her career spans 3 decades of voicing characters in shows and computer games, which include the 90s Spider-Man, Justice League, Wreck-It Ralph, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Brutal Legend, and the Mass Effect games. Those were just a few that stood out. It's an incredible career. Also worth noting is Vanessa Marshall, who plays Black Widow and Madam Hydra. Mr. Data himself, Brent Spiner, plays the Purple Man. Elizabeth Daly, best known for her performances as Rugrats' Tommy Pickles and Buttercup in Powerpuff Girls, also lends her talents. As does Howling Mad MODOK himself, David Schultz. The legend that is Jeffrey Combs, in a feat of casting genius, voices Hulk Nemesis, the Leader. Combs is a massive presence in voice work, notable mentions being as The Question in Justice League Unlimited and Ratchet in Transformers Prime. He has also played multiple iconic roles in the Star Trek universe. Spider-Man also makes an appearance in the series, originally with dialogue recorded by Josh Keaton, who is to voicing Spider-Man what Stephen Bloom is to voicing Wolverine. However, a decision was made to re-record his material with Drake Bell, who was at the time playing the character on Ultimate Spider-Man.
But we'll get back to that later.
The Clancy Brown effect. Whenever I watch any cartoon, the first thing I check is does it feature Clancy Brown? Clancy Brown is one of the all-time greats of cinema and television. Most famous for his roles are as the Kurgan in Highlander and Lex Luthor in the Bruce Timm DC era. Still to this day, the best Lex Luthor. The man has done a lot of voice work over the years, to the point where his presence has almost been a constant in shows I watched growing up. As a result, any show not featuring him will never in my eyes be truly great. He's Odin. How meta is it? As mentioned earlier, the show takes most of its inspiration from the stories and characters from the Stan Lee Jack Kirby era, but the show also takes ideas from more modern aspects of the Marvel Universe and its related media. Nick Fury is a good example. Originally portrayed in the comics as white, Fury was redesigned to look like Samuel L. Jackson in Marvel's Ultimate Comic series. Something that would be taken even further with the actual casting of Samuel L. Jackson in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes has Fury in his familiar S.H.I.E.L.D. agent attire, complete with hairstyle, but in this version is African American, finding a balance between the two versions. Captain Marvel also gets a design matching his Ultimate Comics iteration, but still staying largely faithful to the original comics material. What made the show really work was just how much it embraced the Marvel Universe, especially some of the madder ideas and characters, such as the Avenger ID cards, MODOK, and even Beta Ray Bill.
Love Beta Ray Bill.
EMH was the first to feature the Guardians of the Galaxy long before their big screen debut. The difference in this adaptation to James Gunn's movie is actually quite fascinating. Iron Fist and Luke Cage also made their first animated appearances. Joshua Fine and Christopher Yost both confirmed in later interviews that this series took place in the same universe as Spectacular Spider-Man, Wolverine and the X-Men, Four Tales of Asgard, and the Hulk vs. animated movies, resulting in a shared Marvel animated universe, bearing strong similarities to the 90s animation era. but sadly this was never given the chance to fully develop. The bad times. After the Disney acquisition of Marvel, all Marvel productions not being made by Disney were cancelled. This made sense from a business and creative perspective, as it gave Disney full control of their newly acquired brand. Writer and producer Jeff Loeb was now in charge of Marvel Television and brought certain changes to the creative team. At first, no word on a third season had been given on EMH. However, the production company Man of Action, a writing and producing team consisting of Stephen T. Seagal, Joe Kelly, Joe Casey, and Duncan Roulau, whose previous work included creating the series Ben 10 and Generator X, had been brought on board midway through Season 2 to write the majority of the latter half of the season's episodes. Man of Action had done the bulk of writing for Ultimate Spider-Man. Their arrival instantly brought a very different tone and style to the series.
They had Alex Desert talk over the intro. They didn't even play the song. What's the point? Why are they doing that? It's stupid.
Almost all of the ongoing story arcs were suddenly concluded, and some plot points simply being forgotten altogether, as well as episodes becoming far more self-contained with less focus on mature storytelling and inclusion of adult themes. This was a decision apparently made by Jeff Loeb, who felt the continuity would make it harder for younger viewers to enjoy. The re-recording of Josh Keaton's Spider-Man dialogue with Ultimate Spider-Man's Drake Bell was likely seen as a way by the producers of stopping viewers being confused by the two shows, which doesn't really make any sense as the two series look nothing alike. Soon after, it was announced that the show would be replaced by a new series. Titled Avengers Assemble, early material clearly showed that it was designed and marketed to tie into the incredible success of the 2012 movie, and just like Ultimate Spider-Man, it would also be utter garbage. However, the original creative team were given the chance to write the final installments, giving the series an exciting and well-executed blowout final. In interviews, the writers had given hints of what was to be expected for Season 3, which would see more exploration of magic, and story arcs that would include Civil War and even the Infinity Gauntlet. 5 Megaminds. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes is a love letter to the classic Marvel comics, brought to life by an incredible creative team that really understood and cared about the subject material that they were writing about. Most importantly though, the show is just great fun, which is what classic Marvel is all about. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then please like and subscribe, and feel free to check out some of my other content. Until next time.